you prompted me, Abigail, in your storytelling there about the need for human intervention. And that's very much where the EU is moving with this. So we know that the European Commission have issued a draft proposal to regulate this area, which is receiving a lot of attention right now. And what they're trying to do is to distinguish between, well, AI that is just illegal, right, and AI that's high risk, and what the safeguards that can be put around AI that is high risk, and part of which is this sort of having a governance structure around it, ensuring that there is human oversight, and building that governance in by design. I wonder whether you have any thoughts on that approach, how to regulate the AI.
Yeah, it's challenging because on the one hand, it's new. It's not like something we've ever seen before. On the other hand, it's not. And what I mean by that is when I look at different academic papers that talk about, robust analytics or, getting it right, avoiding feedback loops, we go back to first principles, which is you do need some kind of methodology. You do need some kind of parameters. You do need to work with good data, quality data. Like there are a lot of back to basics kinds of things in AI. At the same time, there's so many unknowns because of the ability for it to learn on its own. And we're not anywhere near where we like to think we are. It's still quite basic, but there are a lot of unforeseen consequences. So I think the best way to do it, and I'm no expert in this, is to try to, like you said, keep it human. Remember that it's here to help us and support us. And so you shouldn't be able to say, so for example, you were a barrister. At some point you would go into court and you might have to call an expert witness, right, to testify to the medical situation of the defendant or plaintiff or whatever. And that expert would have to show their CV. They would have to publish their opinion, which would be, disclosed. So I'm formerly a litigator, so I've had this experience that would have been disclosed. The medical records all the data that's relevant to that would have been disclosed to all the parties and to the judge in advance, scrutinized by another expert. Everyone has to show their work. They have to show their cred. You put AI up there and you say, well, the machine said this, and we're not allowed to see the algorithm or understand what kind of data came into it. That's an expert witness, that's opinion. And we know it's not a question, it's not my opinion that it's opinion. People who work in this field, like Kathy O'Neill, have made it very clear, you make value decisions, it's binary, this or that. So the minute you make that sort of choice, you are making a value judgment. And we have to recognize there is inherent bias in any value judgment, but then we work with that. But there's not even an opportunity if you're picked up by the police and then you're held without bail, or you're held, that's 3 days of your life or 10 days of your life. Your employer, are they going to be okay with that? Like, there's so many consequences. So how do you regulate for it? I think you keep it human. I think this need for intervention is a really good one. The GDPR, in my view, dropped the ball by saying, solely automated decision making and giving a lot of wiggle room there. Quebec and Canada, with their new, so the Quebec private and public sector privacy laws are being overhauled, and Canada also has a bill at the federal level. And in the Canadian context, for Bill C-11, it's not just solely automated, it's if it involves automated decision making, and then there's a right to an explanation and so on. And then in the Quebec case, again, right to an explanation, right to challenge, and right to revision. So I think we're starting to see the importance of that human factor, especially if the data that goes into it isn't even valid, right? Imagine your credit score being decided on this and you don't even know, they might not even have the right person.
And to draw in on what you're saying about the GDPR, when we look in the GDPR about should we report a breach, it's if there's been a serious infringement to the fundamental rights and freedoms of individuals. And I think that we need to take this concept of the fundamental rights and freedoms of individuals and incorporate that into AI, and that AI shouldn't just be about, as you say, solely, automated decision making. But if it affects fundamental rights and freedoms, then it's relevant to the discussion. And one thing I would say about the GDPR, to go back to that huge piece of legislation, it's a principle-based piece of legislation. So it's not just about what you said you did. It's about what you can demonstrate you did, but it's more importantly about the end result. It's about the effect. And that's one element of GDPR that I like, because it's not enough to say the GDPR says we have to do this, we did this, therefore we're in compliance. No, if the end result is not sufficient for data subjects, then you're not in compliance. And I think that AI should be the same. It's not about following a particular set of procedures or regulations and saying this is good to go because we followed all those rules. Does the end result in fairness? Does it protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of individuals? Is there an opportunity for individuals to have their say, to speak, to have their voice, and to show that they are even more than the sum of their parts, that they're not just certain building blocks. We're not all Lego pieces with different elements. We are entities that are so much more than that. And this is the magic of being a human being, is that all those pieces is more than the sum of those pieces. It's something bigger, it's better. And AI can't do that, because AI can only ever be the sum of its pieces.